Hello, people of the internet.
Hello.
I am American McGee.
I'm Martin.
And we are coming to you live from the underground lair in Shanghai. And somewhere in the background there that's Lulu, right? She is right there.
Yeah, that's a Lulu.
There, yeah, but she's ignoring us. Today, what are we doing, Martin?
The usual.
The usual.
We're going to play some Madness Returns. We're going to laugh at you a little bit.
Laugh at me.
For dying.
I see.
We're going to look at some Patreon comments. We're going to look at lots of comments today, actually.
We have a huge amount of comments because we're going to be discussing what is... It's supposedly a controversial topic, but based on all of the comments that we've seen in response to the fact that we're going to be talking about this today, there actually seems to be zero controversy because it appears to be that everyone shares a consensus view. This is in relation to the topic of representation of body shapes in video games. But anyway, we'll get to that later in the stream. We are going to first warn everyone that's watching live on Twitch that yes, we are coming to you from China, from behind the Great Firewall, and the VPN is the small thread that connects us to the outside world. If that thread is to be severed, then you will lose us for a while, but we will be back. So we are also recording as a backup to YouTube. So hello, everybody on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's not live. It's actually a recording of an event that's already taken place. So stop trying to live comment if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact.
Yeah.
We're going to do prizes today, right?
Probably.
What kind of prizes are we doing? Tell the people what they're going to win, Martin.
They could win Omega necklaces.
Yay, Omega necklaces.
The new good ones.
Why are we giving away Omega necklaces again? Be honest.
It's easy.
It's easy.
We just get our dudes down in Shenzhen to sort it out for us.
Yeah, so we're going to give you Omega necklaces because it's easy and we're lazy. So anyway, if you have already won one of these and you win again, then I suppose we could talk about an alternative, or you could give it away to one of your other insane children. So yeah, speaking of insane children, I do see a lot of familiar names. I see our good friend Truth Decay is there in the chat. I see
Octo Chicken's here.
Octo Chicken, always good to see
Silver
you, Greg.
Jinxed.
Lucky Dragon.
Lucky Dragon. We've got some comments from Lucky Dragon from Patreon later.
We do. Lucky Dragon.
If indeed it's the same Lucky Dragon.
It probably is. I remember I got into quite a back and forth with Lucky Dragon on the topic of body representation, which is good. It's interesting to see that kind of commitment or involvement to these comments. So yeah.
All right.
Who else? Who's Tilted Coffee? That's an odd one. What is an? And look, there's an O Martin 311. Is that a relative of yours?
Maybe. It's my 311th relative.
Apparently so.
There's some new ones.
Lots of new ones.
Kudel Scam. Maury Priestess.
Well, we might have a lot of new viewers today because I did post this up to Instagram. I did it on Facebook, and I also did this on Twitter. And I mentioned the fact that we were going to be talking about this body type sort of conversation. So I shared this picture, which is kind of a side-by-side of Alice unclothed, and also in her, this is the Ash dress. This was shared up over on Facebook, and we got a huge number of comments. I mean, I said to you before we started the stream, it's rare that we get this many comments this fast on a post. So I do think there's probably a lot of new people watching the stream today, so welcome to anybody who's never watched us before. The basic thing is we'll play some games, and then we're going to go through all of the new artwork for Alice Asylum, and then we're going to at the same time read and respond to your comments here on Twitch. And then also Martin has a big old list of
today
of questions and comments from our patrons over on Patreon, our insane children. And yeah, we'll give away some prizes. And
it look like a lot more people than usual.
Well,
Currently at 70.
Amazing.
That's unheard of for Twitch, I think.
70 whole people. Amazing.
For our Twitch. That's unheard of. We're getting there.
I keep telling you, Martin, if you would simply put on like a short skirt and some little stockings, you know, we would get a lot more. They wouldn't be able to see
anyway from this angle.
Well, I mean, we could get you like a recliner, and you could kind of put one knee up in a sort of provocative, almost can see your panties type of way. I hear that that's the Twitch magic, you know?
If my moobs aren't doing it, nothing will.
Moobs.
Yeah.
Okay, with that... on moobs, we're going to play a game. By the way, if you've come here expecting anything other than silliness, get lost.
Yes.
This is get bent, because
we may tell you to get bent occasionally,
yeah,
but it's all in jest. If you're new here, we don't mean it much.
Is it in jest?
Mostly.
Yeah, I always find that surprising that people who play my games, and you know, the games are kind of violent, they're kind of funny, they're kind of whatever. People who play my games are surprised to find out that I'm a sarcastic, violent, funny person. So yeah, I don't know what they expect, but if you've come to my streams or my Facebook page looking for coddling, you're not gonna get it. So
or cuddling.
Well, depends. And so where were we? We are in the undersea diluted depths.
Apparently
in Madness
so.
Returns. The whole point of this domain was to represent the kind of middle ground person, or the person who's decided not to take a stand against the train, and him hiding down below in the water, which is actually a really interesting thing, because this has become quite a topic these days with everything that's going on with social justice and sort of Black Lives Matter and the rioting and the sort of unrest that's happening in the US right now. There are a lot of people that are saying that you cannot be middle of the road, or you can't not take a stance. Have you heard?
I've heard such a thing. There isn't, you know, the only way to win the game is not to play.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
So
if you're not playing, you're the enemy.
Correct. And I find it interesting because one of the reasons that we're in China, and I came here, 15 years ago. I left the U.S. One of the reasons that I left the U.S. was that it had devolved into a situation where the U.S. was going to war and it was blowing people up. And there were all these things swirling around about terrorism and the 1% doctrine. Do you know what the 1% doctrine is?
Rich people?
No, this was before that. So I don't know if it was Dick Cheney or Donald Rumsfeld, or one of them came out and said, if there's even a 1% chance of a mushroom cloud over a U.S. city, then we must go and attack and blow up such and such Iraq, or whoever needed to be blown up on that particular day. And what that meant was, along with this sense of you're with us or against us, which was a very famous George Bush quote on the similar topic, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, you can either be on our side or you're on the side of the terrorists, right?
Right.
There was no sort of middle ground, and that kind of polarization that was going on in the U.S., 15 or 20 years ago, has now come back. But it's come back obviously around a different sort of topic. But I find, and I hope this doesn't alienate too many people, but I find that sort of rhetoric to be very. What's the word? It's not very subtle, and it doesn't leave room for conversation or for nuance, and I think it's dangerous, and especially when you're talking about things like going to war, or if you're seeing the kind of like social civil unrest that we're seeing in the U.S. right now. It concerns me because it eliminates discourse, right? And when you make it so that people can't have views other than far left or far right, it actually tends to consolidate power politically, and it makes it so everyone ends up being kind of manipulated more than they normally would be, and that to me is a really big concern wherever the society is. So anyway, that's all a very long way of saying I feel like we're seeing a very similar thing happening again these days, but instead of it being the neocon right side in the US, as happened in the war on terror, it's now coming from a more of the left side. And I think it's interesting also to note that it all happens to be happening not coincidentally during a giant, during an election year. Wow, surprising. So why did I bring that up? Well, because it seems to be translating over into the games as well, and a lot of the comments that we see online.
Yeah.
Oh, and because that's what this character in Madness Returns represented. Sorry, that was I lost my train of thought. So the Carpenter in Madness Returns represents the middle of the road guy, and I think one of the things that's interesting is that Alice's position when she goes down there to confront him is that you can't be middle of the road when confronted with this sort of clear and present danger, right? So right. It's interesting that she actually takes a position that, look, you can't be nuanced and you can't hide out because this danger is coming for you. And I think it's interesting that, we wrote that, even though I'm somebody who thinks that in real life circumstances, that kind of positioning is not always very helpful. But in this kind of surreal, this is a doomsday scenario, like there's a freaking train, it is literally destroying Wonderland. In that instance, it kind of made more sense. So
yeah, I mean, here it's not like a perceived threat or an abstract danger. I mean, here there's massive fucking train that's destroying everything. So I think it is a tad more black and white.
Yeah. Well, and look, in the case of the invasion of Iraq, we were told that was not abstract. We were told that there was hard evidence of weapons of mass destruction and aluminum tubes and all this kind of thing going on. So and the people that are currently protesting in the U.S., they also have evidence that there is a great disparity and tragedy being played out there. So in all these cases, there appears to be a clear and present danger. I think one of the questions would be, if once the election is over, will all of this suddenly magically vanish?
Maybe. I mean, you were saying, weren't you? It's just election years are traditionally mental.
They sure are. So anyway, that's my spiel on this. That's who the Carpenter represents. I think it's interesting in the context of where the world is today. Curious to know if anybody has got any comments or response to that there, Martin?
Ooh. Really? In this section, maybe some scroll past. Yeah, this conversation is not what I expected from this stream, but I love it. I wasn't really expecting this the way it would be starting either. I didn't think we'd be starting on politics.
Well, I mean, it's a political position that the Carpenter has taken in response to the threat of doomsday in Wonderland, right? So there's something going on here by way of this all being a representation of Alice's psyche, her mind telling her that maybe it's better not to question what's happening and to let all of her memories be destroyed because, hey, change is difficult, right? It's hard to change. It's hard to confront what threatens to destroy you. And I fell into a void. Yes.
In American politics, what do dancing oysters represent?
Well, the ones who are being eaten are a representation of those who are ignoring the obvious threat. And in that case, it's sort of, the oysters are being trained to dance by the walrus. So you could argue that there is a representation of, sort of boss / employee, capitalist relationship, things like that are contained in that.
There you go.
And that stuff was also in the original Alice in Wonderland, of course.
Was it?
It was. Well, the walrus eating the oysters, and
right.
The sense of injustice in the world, the rich getting richer, the poor getting eaten, that kind of stuff. That stuff's in the original Alice in Wonderland. Question about it.
All right. What else have we got here? From Roddy Booja. First time watching a live stream. Been binge listening to old ones.
Woo!
Love you two.
Well, we love you too, Rod.
Love you back. How about Martin in drag as DLC?
Wow.
Probably not. That reminds me, we got some message the other day. Somebody wanted us to put them in Asylum, and they promised they would promote the game. That was very pleasant. So we're probably not putting real people in Asylum. Sorry. It's not going to happen, I'm afraid.
Right. This was a voice actor, a cosplayer?
No, they're a YouTuber.
I see. And do they have like 1 million? It wasn't PewDiePie, was
it? So sorry, okay, PewDiePie, we're not interested.
Because I would be willing to put PewDiePie. He could maybe even be Alice, in drag. I mean, that would get us a couple of views, probably.
But one thing that they did say, which I thought was slightly amusing. Again, I'm not going to give too much information about the person. Don't want people hunting them down. Is that they suggested that they could be in at the end of the game. They turn up and save Alice. She doesn't need saving. That's kind of the whole point. I mean, she's her own power. She doesn't need some dude to turn up at the end of the game and rescue her.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Anyway, like I said to him, we're probably not putting real people in the game.
Yeah,
so.
Well, we get a lot of interesting things coming across the messaging channels. I get quite a few unusual messages from time to time. So
yeah.
But we do try to be gentle. Apparently, I have a kind of caustic way about me. Oh no!
Yeah!
That's what I get for it. Come on, that wasn't fair. So anyway, apparently I'm not the best for interaction online. I tend to be a little too blunt, I guess.
A little bit.
Yeah, so I've had people, even had one this morning. Again, I don't want to call somebody out, but there was one of this sort of, I've been a fan forever. How dare you talk to me like that? And I was just like, I'm not trying to talk to you in any weird way. But this oftentimes comes back to one of my golden rules, which is to try to assume the best of the people that you're talking to online, unless they just straight up tell you to get bent, and it's not us doing it in a joking fashion. In this instance, I wasn't trying to tell the guy to get bent, but he still took offense. So it happens.
It does. Meh. This is the internet.
Yeah, I think the internet, it's quite easy to get offended. If you're looking to get offended, it's pretty easy to do it.
It's easily done these days.
And I think that, going back to the point we were discussing before, the internet has basically become an outrage machine, and there's a lot of media companies that thrive and make money on outrage. Uh-oh, a bit of slowdown there. And so I was actually asking somebody this morning who lives in the US, like, how do they maintain their stability mentally? Because I look at the news from time to time, and just looking at it from afar, it stresses me out. I can't imagine actually being in the US in the midst of all this. It feels like, from reading the news, it feels like the whole place is falling apart.
Yeah. I felt the same recently. Not gonna, no spoilers, but Last of Us 2, all of that stuff going on. And I just started thinking, I mean, how little have you got going on in your life that you are literally using real time and energy in your life to try and, destroy like a company's 5 years of hard work, or just like engage in an internet smear campaign? Fair enough, you didn't like some stuff that went on, but is it really worth it?
Well, so I'm glad you brought this up, because The Last of Us, it's partly to do with my posts this morning about the fact that we're going to be talking about Alice's body type, and obviously, there's a lot of people out there on the topic. What was it I told you this morning? Where are her organs? I think that's the phrase, and this refers to, there was a controversy where, I don't know, there was a controversy where some group of people were upset about the unrealistic portrayal of women's bodies in anime, and then I guess when The Last of Us came out, there's a character in there who some people felt was an equally unrealistic representation of a female body, and then they were owned because it turns out that the character is based upon a real-life woman who actually really looks like that in real life. So I said to you this morning that I believe that a lot of what we see as controversy is, first of all, it's manufactured, but second of all, it is, I think it's a kind of form of marketing. I actually think maybe there's a bunch of companies out there that are paid to amp up these kinds of controversies online, because it gets the name of the no. Anyway,
what did you call it?
Disaster
marketing.
It's disaster marketing, and so I think that disaster marketing is all this is. It's companies that are paid to astroturf and to pretend to be the outrage mob, and then that gets the people who are anti-outrage mob enraged and making videos about the outrage mob. But it goes back to the old statement that there's no such thing as bad PR. And I think that that's what we're seeing across. How did this work before? I gotta bounce their bombs back at them.
Yeah.
Is that right? Oh no, you're supposed to blow them. You're supposed to blow the bombs up while he's holding on to them, and then you run over there and smack him on the head.
Smash his face in.
So yeah, I wonder how much of what we see is genuine outrage, and how much of it is manufactured for the benefit of the marketing of these games.
Well, the marketing worked. Sold 4 million copies in 3 days.
Right.
And I believe that was just physical sales.
Yeah.
Who knows about digital? I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Still, either way, even if it is both, 4 million in 3 days.
Yeah. You're keeping an eye on the comments there, right?
Trying.
Okay. For the people, I just saw somebody's laughing that I'm dying. For the people that are laughing at me dying, get bent. So I suck at playing my own game, and I think that we've made that really clear. So there's nothing actually funny about that, because I fully admit it. I mean, it is funny, but whatever, get bent. So.
Yeah, I saw somebody saying they didn't really much care for the Last of Us story, but the gameplay was massive fun, which it is. Guitar Bard, manufactured outrage drives them nuts. With good reason.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's designed to make you sick in a sense. There was somebody I was listening to the other day on a podcast or somewhere, and they said that all this news and all this stuff that we're seeing, it's there to program your brain, and it's actually not meant to program your brain to be healthy. it's meant to program your brain to be ill because you being sick is the goal. You being outraged is the goal. And when you start to realize that there's not a positive reason for the being of a lot of this content, you realize that, oh, come on, camera controls. You realize that you really should tune a lot of this stuff out. I feel like I've just made a huge and terrible mistake.
You can do it.
No,
again.
I can't. There was not another jump left.
You just did one.
Oh, shush. It wasn't just going to be enough to get me over the thing.
Hey Martin, you remember me, the Welsh guy with the crazy address? I do
Yes.
remember a Welsh address.
Who lived on Blargerstone Jabberglabble or something.
That was it.
I remember that guy.
Blargerstone, Glabberjabber
That's
Street.
Blade. Isn't that Blade?
Well, Aaron, according to this.
It's Blade. And he
Blade's
was the one that
Siska doll.
couldn't figure out that we were doing a live stream this morning.
Oh, right.
Blade,
on
come
his
on,
PS4.
man. It's like, it's right there. What's going on? I guess I'm not going the right direction for shooting at this here or something. Try this again in the other direction.
Anonymous mouse. Unfortunately, there are too many people who get enraged because everyone else is enraged, but they don't know the real reason. I saw a bit of this again with the Last of Us. The forum that I was on, some people were arguing, and then the other person was like, "Oh, you don't even know what the problem is with the game because you were arguing. You think we're angry at the wrong thing."
It's crazy the amount of people just going on the internet and getting angry at each other.
Yeah, some people think it's the whole sort of lesbian thing, some people it's the body thing, some people it's the halfway point.
Well, you told
no
me about the
spoilers.
halfway point spoiler. I'm not going to say what it is, but you told me about it this morning, and I mean it's pretty
fine.
severe. But
It is severe, but it's fine.
But it's not something that you should be angry at or boycotting the game over.
No.
It's to my mind. I mean, I wouldn't imagine that you should get that angry at it. I don't know.
shouldn't.
No, I'm not gonna. Oh, I'm angry at this. Oh, effing Switch. Jeez, Rick. Who made this terrible game? We should look at the credits later. 'Cause
joker,
it's
no doubt.
It's just terrible, I'm telling you. What bugs me about this sequence of events, it's back to the problem I've mentioned before. Oh, come on, you're gonna make me get cursed and then we won't be able to be on YouTube for children or something. So what bugs me is this camera angle switching takes the camera control away from me and slows me down from running over here. I feel that shouldn't be that way. Come on.
It's just trying to subtly nudge you towards getting good.
That's something. That's ableist, Martin. That's ableist. Tell me to get good.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of places in here where the game takes control away from you, and it's just momentary, but it's super frustrating. So we're not going to do that in the new game.
Good.
At all.
Yay. On a scale of 9 to 10, how excited am I for Cyberpunk? You know what? Not very. It looks fun, but I've never really been an FPS kind of guy. I don't even know if I'm going to get it. I mean, maybe later, but possibly not on release.
I'm more excited for that samurai thing you told me is coming out.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima.
I don't know if I'm going to have time to play it, but it sounds fantastic, because you said it's sort of like Days Gone.
Yeah, just the classic open world, do some tasks,
Why would you
progress
say
some
Days
story.
Gone, but not, what's that, Red Dead? Because, wouldn't it be more in the era of Red Dead Redemption, like riding around on horses and stuff?
Well, I was referring to the gameplay style. Plus, I've not played Red Dead, so
I see.
it's not my go-to for open world descriptor.
There you go. Well, I'm interested in it. It sounds like fun.
Did you get around to watching like a trailer or anything?
No, I just base all of my opinions about life, what to eat, what to wear, and all these things based on your opinions.
Excellent.
Yes.
What else we got going on here?
Well, I think that in 1 minute we're going to be doing a giveaway. You better be working on a question.
Shit. Yeah. Let me think of a question while I'm looking at these comments. Maybe I'll get inspired. And he says, play Nier Automata. I did, but it was alright.
I think they're asking us to play it on the stream, because we have been asked to play that on this stream before.
It's alright. I don't really get all of the crazy hype around it. I mean, yeah, 2B, she's kind of sexy, and the gameplay is fine, and it's kind of weird that you have to...
2B is her name?
Yeah.
Like, as in, she's 2B, like she's tubular. Is that
the number
she a
2,
relative
the
of,
letter B.
Of CPPO?
3PPO.
3PPO?
But yeah, you know, it started to drag because you have to finish the game about 17 times to see the true ending.
Huh.
So, yeah.
That's a interesting creature. A bottlefish, quite literal.
That's a good question from Guitar Bard. Yeah, I'll steal that.
But now they all know what it's going to be, Martin. That's
well,
kind of...
Maybe.
All right.
An excuse for doing nothing. Reminds me of the Asylum.
Everyone has an excuse for doing nothing, says Alice. That's a good one. Well, on that note, let's do something. Let's give away a prize. Now I'm curious to know about your plagiarized your plagiarized thing. Now, what are we doing? We're going to give away, not that, we're going to give away that, an Omega necklace. This is the new and improved Omega necklace. If you've not done this before, we will pick one name. Well, Nightbot will pick a name, and then we'll send this to anywhere in the world for free. So you need to answer Martin's question in the comments, though, in order for Nightbot to see you. So,
yeah.
What's your question, Martin?
The question was, from Guitar Bard, what level or part of a game you have played has made you the angriest? Good one, that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because I know you broke some discs on a game recently.
I snapped the Bloodborne disc.
You snapped Bloodborne.
But that's probably the second place for how angry I've been at a game.
Second place?
Yes.
Really? What was first place?
In my youth, we're going back to like the GameCube. I wasn't that young. On F-Zero GX, fantastic game. It like runs like super fast racing game, but there's like story challenges. You know, do it in a certain time, avoid certain obstacles, blah blah blah. And some of them are just insane. And I remember getting so frustrated at some of those later story challenges that I punched like a few holes in a cupboard door.
Wow.
Just to like get the anger out.
Wow. That's crazy.
Luckily it wasn't like a solid wood cupboard door or anything. It was breakable, but yeah, it went straight through.
Well, I see a lot of people in the comments actually mentioning the first Alice with those lily pads, because they really sucked. I mean, the lily pads, remember those? They move around, and then if you fall in the water, they kill you, and they're really hard to hit because the clipping volume on them is terrible. And I saw somebody else mention the slides in Alice Madness Returns, the game we're playing right now. Yeah, I agree with both of those. And so Casual Viking says the entire game of Star Raiders.
No Star Raiders.
Somebody has said cupboard. I guess it's because you were punching a cupboard?
Yeah, I was saying, what's wrong with my pronunciation of cupboard?
What did you say?
Cupboard.
There you go. What is it? Cupboard?
It's not cupboard.
No, it's not. I'm trying to remember if I had a game that made me genuinely super angry.
Have you ever snapped a controller or twisted one till it creaked?
Well, I mean, I've broken discs and thrown discs away, but because I was so addicted to the game, it wasn't out of anger. It was out of lack of self-control to stop playing the game. So.
That was why I did Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust myself to not play it again until I'd calmed down.
Somebody mentions the Water Temple in Zelda. I do remember some of the early Zelda games that I would get quite angry at those. That's a good point. So, yeah. The Meat Circus in Psychonauts was frustrating, says Darth Thiel. And, yeah, it seems like people have got some. So somebody, T-Spade, says the entire game of Cuphead. I never actually played Cuphead.
It looks good.
It does look good. I just know the only thing I know about Cuphead is that Dean Takahashi had a hard time playing it. So
The only thing I know about it is that it's racist.
oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did you
well.
hear that back in the day?
I mean, I've lost track of all the things that are racist.
Because of like the animation style. Back
see.
then, they used to like caricature certain types of people in a certain way.
Right.
And because Cuphead used the animation style from the 1920s, therefore Cuphead was racist.
Interesting. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Cuphead. All right. Anyway, we are going to roll it. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nightbot says deeps to the peeps. So deeps to the peeps. You have won the Omega necklace. Congratulations. You need to send an email to support@mysterious.design. That will go to Martin over here. Includes your phone number, your mailing address, your name, and the fact that you've won a necklace. Do all that within 24 hours and format all of that in a way that Martin can read and translate into the Order Whatsy system without frustration and anger.
Please do.
Some people have amazing skill to induce rage in us. With the way that they format their address when they win stuff. So don't do that.
Yeah, we get some funny ones sometimes. It's like people are too excited that they've won, and when they write in, they just completely make a hash of their address. I mean, I can't
It's really
remember
weird.
who it was. They just said the first line of their address. It was literally like 12 John Street.
Well, we had some. I remember somebody wrote in and it was like, Bob Smith, Canada. And that was it. It's like, no, dude, we're gonna need more than that to get your thing to use. So, yeah. So here's the deal. Normally we would play the game for about an hour, but I said at the start of this stream we have so much art to get through, and we have so many comments to get through. My recommendation is this. Let's get into some art review and these comments, and then if we have time at the end of the stream, we'll come back and play more game.
Sounds good.
All right.
I like it.
So let's just jump right in, as so many people on YouTube are fond of saying. I think we're going to just get in here on, I guess, the topic of great controversy, which is this here toad.
Oh my god, it's so controversial.
Actually, it's not that toad. We'll eventually get to the hallucinogenic toad. But the actual point of controversy is the main character of our game. We are, as many of you are aware, working on pre-production, building a design bible for a third Alice game in which the main character is 13-year-old Alice. And it's very, very important for everyone to keep in mind that the representation of Alice in the third game, Alice Asylum, is the view of 13-year-old Alice as seen through the mind's eye by adult Alice. Do you get it?
It's always clear to get that out at the beginning.
Okay. And
this is not a real person. It's a memory from a long time ago of a person.
Well, yes. It is adult Alice, 20-something-year-old Alice, remembering herself as 13-year-old inner child Alice. And of course, this is all, I mean, we do need to, I guess, say this, but this is all in the fantastical realm of Wonderland. So things are a bit surreal. They're not 100% real.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why are we back to working on Alice and her body type and the shape of her and her face and things like that? It's because we have brought on board a 3D modeler and also an environment modeler who are both going to go into Unreal, and they're going to use their magical tools, and they're going to create a high-res, super high-res 3D model of Alice as we would see her in Alice Asylum. In other words, 13-year-old Alice as you'd see her in Alice Asylum. Now, when I was talking to said modeler about what he's going to do, he said he's going to go off and use the model from Alita, Battle Angel, in the movie as sort of his reference point for quality. And so if you saw Alita Battle Angel and you saw how fantastic she looked in the movie, the expectation that's been set for what our model is going to look like in terms of density and quality is that model.
Excellent.
Yes. Now, in order for the 3D modeler to do his thing, we have to produce the reference materials for what Alice looks like in 2D so that he can then translate that stuff into 3D. Now, we had previously gone through the cycle of her face. And so the person working on this is Joey. She is an artist who worked on Alice Madness Returns. She worked with me at Spicy Horse for many years, and she is still working with us. She's working on the Alice Asylum project. It's her hands and her mind, in essence, that's creating the look and feel of our 13-year-old Alice. So for those of you out there who are curious or who care about these kinds of things, it is important to note that our character design for a female character in the game is being done by a female. Because I know, well, I mean...
It's not just two old grumpy dudes doing it.
Yeah, well, that's a concern. And another thing I just want to make really clear, which we have said in the past, is that the Alice games deal with the topic of child molestation, of fetishization of children, and we try to do that in a subtle way. But obviously, the core issue of what happened in AMA and AMR and the reason behind the murder of Alice's family, and spoiler alert, the big bad guy of Alice Madness Returns, Dr. Bumby, the core of all that has to do with sexual abuse, and specifically the sexual abuse of children. With that in mind, it's very important to understand that at no point ever in the development of an Alice game will I ever want to do anything that would sexualize or fetishize our main character, or really any other character in the game at that point. And that is because I myself as a child went through abuses of physical, psychological, and sexual nature. So it's very important to point out that if ever you see something in our development work that appears to be a bit racy, or for some reason, like in a moment here, you're going to see her in sort of mannequin pose with not a lot of clothes on, this is a technical file. It's not meant to sexualize or fetishize her in any way. So be clear on that.
It's good to get that out,
yes,
and be clear up front.
That is the disclaimer.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, this is the face. We had previously streamed and we talked about and posted all this up over on Patreon, and so we had settled upon this as her face for the 13-year-old character. Now, another thing to keep in mind is this is the 2D representation. Once the modeler, his name is Roman, once he goes in there and starts to convert 2D into 3D polygons, there will be some interpretation and some changes and things like that. So there will be a back and forth with all of us. We will review the 3D model stuff, and we will eventually come to a consensus on what she's going to look like in game.
Okay.
Now this is Mannequin Alice. Again, this is a technical file meant to provide to Roman the underlying physical shape of the model that he's going to create. Now this is a little bit different than where we finally ended up, and I'm gonna try to pull up this, where is it, the Patreon post, there we go, so that we can kind of compare what did she look like and what does she look like in this drawing. So yeah, this was the Patreon post.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think this was the original shape. And this caused quite a lot of controversy because she was and is very, very skinny in that.
Very much so.
And one of the other women working on the project, which is Jennifer, she actually sent along some images on our Team Monday project management stuff. She sent along some images showing sort of more realistic body shapes for girls of this age. And so Joey ended up doing a bit of a modification, kind of beefed her up a bit. So let's just do a really quick A/B test here. So this is what the original drawing was, and then based on the feedback from our insane children, we got this. So she's got a slightly more, or sort of slightly less emaciated look in the sides there, yeah.
And when you scroll through the images, flipping back and forth, once she is dressed up, it fits.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is that we look at her in the unclothed version, which of course you'll never see her like that in game. I mean, but if you flip back and forth between that and the new image, you know, she's been given a bit more meat on her bones. But also, at the end of the day, what really matters is what she looks like under or with the dress on. Now, the reason why she needs to be represented without the dress on for Roman is because he's gonna have to model her weight and the points at which she has articulation, like where does she bend, things like that. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the modified, updated version. If you saw the version over on Patreon, you know, I was shocked. I withheld my. Oftentimes when I post stuff up on Patreon, especially when it's controversial, I'll keep back my comments because I don't want to taint or otherwise distort people's reactions. Because a lot of times, if I were to say like this is great, then a lot of people would just lump onto that and say this is great. But to be honest with you, when I saw this, what Joey had done, I was shocked. I was like, this isn't gonna fly.
It's a little too much, Joey.
It's very skinny. Now look, you know, you can make excuses for why she's like that, one of them being that she's in an insane asylum, and she has been for years. She's incredibly depressed. And you know, she lost her family in this fire, and so maybe she's emaciated, maybe she's not eating, you know, maybe she's been in a coma. Look, I went into the hospital once when my appendix exploded, and do you remember what I looked like when I came out?
I have a vague memory of you looking a little lighter.
A little lighter. I have very little weight to lose as it is, but I ended up losing all of the weight that I had to lose, and I basically was just like stick and bones. It was quite scary. So I lost a tremendous amount of weight, and I was only in the hospital for maybe like a week, like 6 or 7 days, but I was on a diet of just like soft foods for a very long time.
Right.
So, yeah. So do we have comments here that are worth talking about on that first?
Deeps to the Peeps asks if the model that Roman is making would be used in the actual game or just for promotional materials.
I think we'd like to think that it could be used in the actual game, but it certainly will be used for promotional materials, because that's why Roman is going to be connected to Tau. Tau is the environment modeler, and Roman's model is going to be put into a 3D environment in Unreal and lit and animated as a scene, and then that way we'll have something that we can look at maybe as a little looping animation or something like that.
Right. Celtic Dragon Liddell asks for the 17 millionth time in this stream, is there a possibility to see the unicorn dress in Asylum? What was the unicorn dress?
We don't have a unicorn dress as far as I know.
Was there one in a previous, in AMA or AMR?
I don't think so. I'm not quite clear what that means. I don't know if we ever had a unicorn dress. If we did, maybe I've just forgotten it. We did create a lot of dresses, so hard to say.
We do.
But on the topic of dresses, the dress that we're going to have modeled for this 3D model that's getting made is this one. This is called the Ash dress. Actually,
okay. I'm
not sure if it's this or the Alchemy dress. Let me see if I can find the Alchemy dress really quick. There's some guts. So this is the classic dress. We were saying perhaps to model her in the classic dress, but I'm also a really big fan of, where is it? Lost.
Is it in the Patreon post with that big image of dresses? Could we expand that?
Nope. Cannot. So there's the Alchemy dress. So the Alchemy dress is kind of like the Ash dress taken to the next level. And this is something that we think we would see her wearing when she goes into the Hatter's domain. So it's kind of a combination of the fire, the ash, and then also alchemy. See there, it's got a Mercury symbol on the back of the dress and on her necklace here. So I think I'd like to see her in this. So that's something that Roman is working on now. Be interesting to do some updates about this.
But the decision has been made then, has it, to do the other ash dress?
What you've just said is very confusing to me, Martin.
The model that Roman...
He's going to do this, the alchemy dress, I believe.
All right.
I think that it's going to end up being the alchemy dress. I should check with him, because I know he has both of these. Some of this I've actually left to him to decide, so...
Right.
Yeah, let's see.
Here's a bunch of comments down here. People were... some were saying that denial dress was fine, or it should be the classic blue if you want to use for marketing, or lots of differing opinions on which dress should have been used.
Yeah, I know. We've seen a lot of opinions. I think we're just going to have to make a decision and have it come out, right? But
I mean, as long as it looks awesome. I mean, I think the dress, while being important, isn't the main thing, perhaps. Just having it look like just a really good 3D image of Alice, probably the best thing. Yeah,
but I mean, some of the dresses, if you were to show them to the general public who are kind of only slightly aware of our version of Alice, they might look at them and not realize even who the character is. So one of the important things that we do need to do is that when somebody sees when they see the 3D model in a scene, we really need them to look at that and say, oh, that's that Alice by that guy. Right, I know what that is. Now, I don't know if this one 100% would do that. I think if we go back and we were to do the classic dress, like this one, then yeah, for sure. People would be like, oh yeah, that's that Alice game. I remember that. So right. We'll see.
Is there any kind of ETA on how long it takes to do this?
1 month.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it won't be available for the next stream, but maybe the one after?
Correct.
Okay.
Should be. I mean, we might have a work in progress model to look at in a few weeks.
All right.
Yeah. Are there any of those comments over there on this topic that you think it's worth to get into right now? While you're doing that, I'm just going to have a really quick scroll here. Now, the topic of the dresses and her waistline also intersects with the era in which she lives and the question of whether or not this representation of her is appropriate for the Victorian era. Now, as many of you are aware, during the Victorian era, corsets and this style was quite popular. I don't know that much about the topic of corsets and of the use of corsets in the Victorian era. So, what I like to do is reach out to our community to talk to them about what they know about this. One of the things I found was really interesting was when I tried to Google this topic, Google gave me back a lot of politically correct videos and articles that were trying to reshape my view of just how evil this was as a practice, which I found to be kind of chilling.
Right.
And what's very different is that when I went to my Facebook instead and we posted it up, first of all, we got a ton of comments on this question. Second of all, the comments are by and large greatly in support of Alice having a traditional sort of look that fits in with Wonderland, fits in with her as an asylum, sort of patient. And also a lot of people popped up and said that this image of corsets being organ smashers is not right. Because when I saw this, I was like, whoa, that sucks. Your guts are all... But actually, what was weird to me was that in this image, I don't believe that my guts actually reside up there in my lungs anyway. I thought your guts were a little further down.
Yeah, I'd probably put them a little further down than that.
Well, so, there's Priscilla. She says, in all caps, that drawing of the corset is painfully inaccurate, which a lot of people echoed that same response. And that was something that I saw over on the Facebook page was tons of comments here. People saying that corsets were actually worn by women who worked in the factories during that era, and it was as often a back support or kind of boob support thing, like a bra, as it was for fashion reasons. And so just going through these comments, not only do a lot of people take issue with the characterization of the Victorian era shape or the use of corsets as being inaccurate. But tons of people are also saying, listen, don't change Alice because some people who won't even play your game happen to be bitching. That gets repeated over and over and over again. It's 99% of people who are commenting here saying things like, it's gotten a bit ridiculous concerning this, gone from wanting body representation to wanting a particular body to dominate the scene, and that it's a crime to be traditionally sexy or small and painted as unrealistic. Never mind that those types of body types exist in the real world. So it's interesting to see just how much pushback there is on the sort of political correct interpretation or version of body types in games.
So comments here about that. There's from It's Okay, Psych. My grandmother told me it was actually more a modest form of support in comparison to a bra. It was just a large piece covering stomach and breasts.
Yep.
And I can't see it now. Who was it? Somebody they said they wear them going to like Renaissance fairs.
Sure.
As long as you're not slouching, apparently they're like super good for you and comfy. So, and should probably stop you from slouching anyway.
I should wear one.
I should wear one.
I like, people like Andrew here on Facebook says, ignore the criticism from people who don't play your games. Duh. And, another one on the accuracy of corsets. Somebody says, please do not keep the narrative of how destructive corsets are. There are endless number of costume historians on YouTube who talk a lot about corsets during the Victorian era. Actually, on my personal Facebook page, in the comments, a lot of people brought up this YouTuber. Her name is Bernadette Banner. And the fact that she goes into some depth about historically accurate representation of the type of dress and corsets and things like that. So I think in order for me to educate myself a bit better on the topic, I will go and check that out. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that Alice will not be wearing a corset in the game, and this simply came up because of the way in which we show her with a very narrow waist. But she's seeing herself again through the mind's eye, and that mind's eye would have been sort of programmed by the society around her. So Alice would have seen her mom and her sister and all these other people wearing these things. Now, I actually think that to the degree that corsets are somewhat restrictive, now I'm not saying that they are, but if you were going to argue that they are, I'd say fine, because that also happens to fall in line with the idea of a straitjacket and of Alice as a prisoner. So even for those people out there who complain or suggest that corsets are restrictive or somehow otherwise binding or tight, then you could say, okay, well, that fits in with the mental landscape where Alice is a prisoner of her own mind.
True. While the subject changed to corsets and stuff, I was actually marking down comments about dress types. So I'll just run through a few of these about which dresses people preferred. Catherine Alice North suggests that the classic one would have been one to go with, especially if that's the starter dress.
This being the classic dress.
Yeah, classic blue.
Yep.
Andrew also mimics that. I agree with other comments that the classic dress is recognizable and good for a sales pitch, but also likes acceptance and harvest and ash. They're all good. 90% of the dresses are good.
I wonder if I have the dress. Let me see if I can find it, because I think there's probably a lot of people watching this on on Twitch, who may not have seen all of the dresses in the past. Try to find those really quick while you're going through those comments.
Nabby Yang says the body looks good, and their vote is for the ash dress. Also, really loves the cracked doll face with the ash dress on.
Yeah, so we have that one. The cracked doll face. So that's the ash dress on the right side. So the cracked doll face and this sort of cracked doll, this is actually meant to be Shadow Alice.
Yeah.
Now, Shadow Alice is going to be the representative kind of enemy of the chaos that is destroying Wonderland. And then you can see here she's actually wearing a chaos necklace. So in the story of Alice Asylum, we're going to present a classic battle of chaos versus order, with Alice sort of caught in the middle, but she has a shadow self who you see here, who is on the side of chaos, quite obviously. And Alice finds herself sort of teamed up with the Queen of Heart, trying to fight against the chaos. And of course, there's going to be some twists and tons of spoilers, but yeah.
Oh no, spoilers.
Oh no, spoilers.
Wendy J. Thinks her torso needs to be bigger, and she's a little bow-legged. Saw that comment come up a few times. But also votes Ash dress. And just left this one in because of Victoria Gurgurt. Loves the idea of using the denial dress. That's one of my favourites, the yellow one. It reminds me of the Alice movie with Whoopi Goldberg and sets it apart from the Disney blue. Man, Whoopi Goldberg as Cheshire. That's nightmare stuff.
It is. Yeah, so I like the Ash dress a lot. I think the Ash dress can be what we end up modeling. But I really like that Hatter dress a lot too, the one that's got all the other alchemy bits in there. But yeah, we'll see. I'll talk with Roman and see how he's getting on, and we'll come back to it.
All right.
Yeah. So let's just go through a few more of these comments that we see on this topic from Facebook. Let me see here. Here we go. Somebody says that they don't see what the issue is, that people actually wore them, that is the corsets, and that the art style of games is exaggerated and proportions are exaggerated anyway. We're not supposed to take the characters as literal. Now, I think that's fine to say that, but it does seem that when you represent characters in games, there often will become some group of people who are polarized against the representation of the character in the game, which is why we're having this conversation. But again, it often feels to me like it's a very vocal minority who bring up these issues, and that the mass of people who play games, the ones who buy these games as well, typically are not the ones who have the complaint. Again, like I see this comment quite often where somebody will say to me on Twitter or somewhere else, in response to something I've done in a game, they'll say, "Oh, how dare you, you're a horrible person, I'm never going to play your games," and then they block me, and I think, well, I don't know if I lost anything there.
It is
Anyway.
the negative Nellies always shout the loudest.
This is very true.
Yeah.
All right, well, speaking of shouting very loudly, I hope you have a question ready.
Don't.
Uh-oh.
But why don't you come up with a nickname for a negative person? It's like Negative Nelly.
You're asking
Something like alliteration.
In the comments. Okay, so the question Martin has just proposed is for you fine viewers and insane children. What would you call people who are Negative Nellies, constant complainers?
Grumpy Graham.
Grumpy Grahams. I know that these days there's a lot of people using the phrase Karen, like to be a Karen.
That's quite the popular diss these days.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, if we sound weird about things, it's because we don't live in the States. We live outside, and we're not in a Western country, so we can only get our culture basically by watching YouTube or reading things on Twitter, which means that we have a very distorted view of. Somebody says.
I saw Drama Llama.
Drama Llama
quite
is
like
good.
That.
Sad Stan. But here's the thing: is that Martin and I are basically like the only Western exposure. We're really out of time, though. We don't talk with a bunch of people around a water cooler so that we catch up on the latest TV shows or video games or news or ways of speaking. And I mean, when I go back to the U.S. these days, not that I could now because everything's broken, I hear people using phrases, and I'm like, what? What does that even mean?
Who knows what the cool kids are saying these days?
I don't know. I really don't know. Outside agitators, disappointment Dan, inconsequential, says Arter Zero. Trolling Toms
Trolling
is
Toms.
patient. Yeah.
Shall we roll it?
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1, go for it.
Oh.
It's
okay. Psych.
It's okay, Psych.
Yeah.
Have they won before?
No, but I mentioned a comment they said like 5 minutes ago or something.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Well, it's okay, Ike. You've just won, so it is okay. The thing is, you need to send an email to support@mysterious.design. Include your name, your phone number, your address, and the fact that you want an Omega necklace, and do that in a format that does not cause us to be a... Come on, oh no, they've all scrolled off the screen. A disappointment, Dad. Don't make us a Krabby Abby.
Or a shit strumpet.
Shit, strumpet. Yes, please. A bottom. Don't make us a bottom fellow. What? Oh no, the internet. FFF, they all say. That's fine.
It's fine. We're still everyone on YouTube. Hi.
Yeah, so Martin's freaking out because the internet just died. That's fine. It says we're connected, but clearly we're not. I'm going to disconnect. Should we try to do a different server or just go back to the same one?
Just go back to the same one.
Okay. It's always the same. About an hour in, I think that there's a disappointment Dan sitting in some central office where they control the internet in China, and that person gets to this point in the stream and they want to win the prize and they didn't win again, and they go, damn it, and then they knock us off the internet.
Could happen.
I think that's what it is.
Well, we are allegedly connected, but not up here.
Yeah,
please bear with us.
We are resetting the VPN. Did we have to do... It says, welcome to the chat room. So we're back onto the chat. Now we're just waiting for this thing to reconnect. It's trying.
It is trying.
You know, we should do something for people on YouTube when this happens.
Like what?
I don't know.
Could get Lulu over.
We could, but I just feel bad for the people who are watching this on YouTube when it falls down and then everything kind of stops.
Do we need to disconnect and try a different server?
That, or it looks like it's coming back.
No.
No?
No, there's one peak and then it got bent.
This has come back. I don't know. Anyway, people on YouTube, very sorry. We are working through this as quickly as we can.
Please feel free to scroll, several minutes ahead.
You know what you should do if you're on YouTube right now? You should hit like so that it will travel back in time and make the internet come back to life for us. So, could you do that, please? Smash like, and it will make the VPN magically...
Slap like.
I thought it was smash.
It's everything.
Well, if you could, smash like, slap like, or do something to make the internet come back and the VPN come back. It looks like we've lost all viewers. It's quite crap when this happens.
It is, because it's really good and solid up until it happens.
Yeah, chat is working, but not stream. Oh, and I really wanted to show them the latest card guard chaos beastie thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
We'll get there.
Well, look, I'm gonna do a different. Oh, there we go, and we're back. Okay, sorry about that. I did ask everybody on YouTube to smash and slap like, and we said that if they did that we would then magically come back, and apparently that worked. So thank you, people on YouTube, for smashing like and causing a reverse echo in time to bring the stream back to life.
It's
yay!
Still kind of wobbly. Looks a little bit like a comb, but
all right.
It's been a while since I used one of those.
Ba-dum-bum. So anyway, we are back. Where were we? We had just given away a prize to It's Okay, Ike.
Yes, it's okay, Ike. Psych.
I have a theory that there is a guy sat in the internet office down the street here who watches the streams, and he's in the chat, but when he doesn't win the prize, he gets angry and smashes the disconnect button. So, there you go.
Would be.
Yeah. All right.
What were we doing? We were going to show a dress or just go through some more art? What?
Yeah, well, we need to go through art because we have a ton of art. Now, I think we're finished on this topic. Everybody knows now that we are making an Alice model. It's probably going to be based on the Ash dress. And yeah, we fixed up her body type. She's not quite so emaciated. And I really feel like on this topic in general, all of us, Alice fans and supporters and insane children, we all seem to be on the same page.
Seems it.
So
There's not a lot of drama these days.
Well, so when the angry mob comes for us, and they will, just please be prepared with me to defend.
Right.
All right, cool.
What's next?
Well, face is done. Dress, probably not going to be the classic dress, but anyway. Guts. We know where the guts will
Jibs.
go. Yes. So yeah, I'm hoping it's this. I hope it's alchemy dress with the ponytail, like the.
Okay.
Face, yep, face is good. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. Yeah,
Vija Alice.
I love this thing. Okay, so as I mentioned previously, the thing that's taking over Wonderland is chaos. Now, a lot of people ask, why does the Queen of Hearts have this tentacle motif around her? And so what we're going to do here is we're going to give you the reason. Now, when you first meet the Queen of Hearts in the new game, she will not be tentacly.
Mm-hmm.
She will actually be against the tentacles. So the Queen of Hearts, when we meet her in Asylum, first off, she's going to be the agent of order. She's going to be the one who's fighting against fighting against chaos and trying to impose order onto Wonderland and onto Alice. Now, spoilers, big spoilers. What you will discover as you play through the game is that the Queen of Hearts, along with other actors and characters in Wonderland, realizes that their reality is contained within the snow globe, the bubble of young Alice inside adult Alice's psyche. So think about it like this. Young Alice, a child Alice, is in adult Alice, right? But adult Alice has lost touch with her inner child. And now we're going to kind of make a literal, not literal, but anyway, figurative mental representation of your inner child separated from your adult self. And now imagine your inner child is trapped in a little ball in a little jail cell inside of your psyche. So the Queen of Hearts in that ball knows that so long as the inner child stays separate from the adult Alice, that their version, the bubble of reality that they live in, is safe and it will be maintained. So the Queen of Hearts desperately wants to protect the bubble, and she doesn't want chaos intruding in there and mucking things up, and she really doesn't want young Alice realizing that there is a world outside and that adult Alice is trying to break through the barrier and reunite the two of them. Well, at some point you'll realize that the shadow Alice that we think we're fighting against and the chaos that we think we're fighting against is actually the way in which adult Alice is trying to break through the barrier and communicate with the child. Now, before that happens, I want you to be completely and totally terrified of, and you want to kill and avoid this chaos infection as much as possible. So, so Omri has done up what I think is one of the most fantastic pieces of art. I wrote on Twitter this morning, if there's any one reason why Alice Asylum needs to be made as a game, is so we can see this in action in the game. So there's a regular old happy card guard.
He looks pretty happy.
Yeah, he maybe is even a bit in love. He's got little hearts coming out of him. He's a happy guy.
He's a heart card, so that makes sense.
He is a heart card. So then he gets infected. And so there's like these veiny little, slimy little bits of chaos that are infecting him. Now at this point, I think he's still mostly himself. But
15% infected.
he starts having problems. Now, there's a couple of things in horror movies that I love to hate. And when I say hate, I mean they make me really uncomfortable. But it's one of the reasons why I love the Alien movies so much, even when they're not very good. So I really liked Prometheus, even though a lot of people didn't like it. Now, why did I like it so much? Because there's all these scenes of like snaky tentacle things jamming themselves down people's throats and digging under their skin. And I hate that stuff, but I love it.
Yeah, it's got a... I don't know how to describe it, but it's like car crash. You can't look away. It's like, oh, I hate this, but look at it. Ooh.
Yeah. So Aliens does it really well. John Carpenter's The Thing has this motif going on in it. Can you think of other... I feel like Stranger Things...
There is a game coming out on the next Xbox called Scorn, which is very H.R. Geiger. I don't know if you've seen any trailers of that.
Wasn't there
it's probably quite creepy.
But there's a superhero too, which is the one that's got the big gapy jaws. Didn't he get slimed in the mouth? It's a DC Comics Spawn. Doesn't he get gooed in the mouth and it turns him into a monster? Oh, come on. Anyway, chat, help us out. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing card guards, taken over by the chaos. So when it happens, they will go from like being neutral towards Alice to being enemies, or they maybe will go from being enemies to being like super enemies. The main thing is that when you see that an enemy's beginning to become converted, you will want to kill it as fast as possible, because what you don't want is for it to get big, because the bigger it gets, the harder it is to kill. And then, of course, it can start consuming other enemies. So I imagine kind of like a tumbleweed, it grows and it gathers other tumbleweeds. And so once this guy has been completely taken over, he's going to start soaking up other guys. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this in action. Now, this is all going to be procedurally generated. It'll all be looking just absolutely fantastic. Imagine these tentacles all covered in little octopus suckers and things like that. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Several people say, are you thinking of Venom?
Yeah, Venom.
Right.
Venom, that's the thing I'm thinking of.
All right.
There you go. What did I say?
Spawn.
Spawn. Oh, no, not Spawn. Venom.
Right.
Yes. What does Telmucci say there?
A good concept. I like that a lot. But the one before that. I like the idea, but don't know how it's look in the final animation, just because I feel like it could potentially be too busy. Yeah. I love it. It's also a lot. I think I like it at 70% more. This is the animation for them dying.
Well,
Are they alive?
Let's see it in game, because again, it could be busy. But remember, in Alice Madness Returns, we did procedural hair, and her procedural hair looks really good. And at the time when the game came out, there weren't a lot of games that had procedural hair. And you could have said like, oh no, we're used to having kind of helmet hair, or very basically animated polygon hair. And when we first got procedural hair working, there was all kinds of craziness going on with it, and it was annoying at times. She would jump and it would clip through her body and it would come out her face, and so you had to put constraints on it and work with it in order to make it look right. But I imagine these tentacles as being procedural tentacles, and I think that they could look pretty damn cool. But we'll try it out in game. We'll see.
I get what they're saying though. Too much of something, it just starts to look like a mass of something. It loses, like, if you could still see that, like, at 70%, you still see the form of the card guard, and it's coming at you, but it's all sort of wobbly and wriggly.
Yeah.
That would look better than just a big, amorphous blob of tentacles.
But also imagine, like, the card guard gets swept off his feet. He's kind of still in there, but he's sideways, and now the tentacles are the thing that are scurrying along the ground with a card guard or several card guards like in the blob in the middle, and they're screaming and they're not happy about it.
Yeah,
I just think there's a lot of really fun possibility there. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool. So that's gonna be like one of the primary So in Madness Returns, we had the black goo, otherwise known as the ruin. What do you say, ruin?
Ruin.
Ruin. Ruin. So yeah, there's going to be the ruin kind of equivalent. So you'll find this chaos monster is taking over Wonderland.
Right.
You'll find it in a lot of places. Now these are just happy beasties. They're they're the furthest thing from chaos monster tentacle madness.
The bread and butterfly.
That's cute.
It is cute. Everything on this page is cute.
This is Jennifer. She did a good job making everything cute.
This is Jennifer.
I think, is this Jennifer or Omri?
I don't know. Wait, it's kind of cute. Jennifer's in chat. Well, she
think-
was.
I think this is her because she had
No,
a.
it says it's Omri.
Oh, but then Jennifer did a pig. Where's Jennifer's pig? There's Jennifer's pig. And then I saw Omri and Jennifer complaining, like bitching at each other about whether or not it should be blindfold or if it was cute enough and stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't quite get it. But so on the topic of these enemies, so these are obviously non-enemies. These are just sort of placeholders in the world now. But you could imagine that they could get eaten by the chaos. So, like, who doesn't want to see this cute little fawn getting all
like
with
tentacles coming out of its eyes?
Or maybe the other end. But yes, I think that would be fantastic. I mean, I want to see this squirrel get taken over. Omri, why have you put eyeliner on a squirrel?
Could a butterfly still fly if it had tentacles coming out with it? Would it be like too heavy? It would just flop around on the floor.
Only one way to find out, Martin. Really, only one way to find out the answer to that question. So yeah, this was the early concept of what the tentacles taking over the creatures look like. And my response to this was just get rid of this other kind of crab lobstery stuff and, just focus on pure tentacles. So, I mean, I think this is cool, but it, as I said in my comment to Omri, I feel it kind of distracts from the core theme of tentacles, and I just want to stay really focused on that. So,
all right, makes sense.
I think I saw somebody saying, "Please show the pig again."
Get to it.
Why? He's cute.
What is that name?
I think a Momrath is a type of creature from Alice in Wonderland, but I don't know that it's ever been sort of imagined. I don't know that it's ever been seen, but in the films, it looks like this. So it wasn't imagined in the book, I don't think, but it was mentioned in the book, and then it's represented in the Disney film as looking like this. So for some reason, Jennifer... I understand one reason to do this is to avoid looking too much like the Disney stuff, because that would get us sued, right? So she's obviously decided to take a different direction. Now, Momrath's here... I wonder if this is a Tennille drawing. It looks of the era. But so this is sort of an earlier version.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, in the Disney Alice, they look like these little things, which is weird.
A little bit.
Very weird. So this is what Jen did. Now, I know she did an updated version of this. The question is, can I find it? Now, Jen, you might have to
search for
tell me.
Momrath.
I don't know how to do that.
It's a search filter.
Where?
There.
Oh.
Oh.
No. I think you have to. I think you have to be in the right board to make this work.
Okay.
And I'm not sure exactly where in the game they exist, or where in... What does Jennifer say? She's probably telling us, go into denial and wildlife. See, there you go. Denial, levels. By the way, everybody who is out there watching me scroll through this stuff, this is the system that we use for... Here we go. Is it ambient creatures? This is the system that we use. There it is. For organization of all the work that's getting done, because there's a lot of work getting done. If you are an insane child or you want to support what we're doing, you can go over to Patreon, and all the people who are working on this game right now, on the pre-production, they're being paid by our patrons. And you can see that we're doing so much work that we have this incredibly complicated workspace filled with all this art. So there you go.
Yeah. So is this the one you were thinking of? The non-blindfolded one?
Well, that is a non-blindfolded. He looks really grumpy.
Really does.
But I just brought him back up because somebody in the chat said I want to see that pig again.
Right.
So there you go. And then look, T-Spade says, yes, pig without the blindfold. So yeah.
It's pretty popular.
But imagine this thing getting taken over by tentacles.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Coming out of its snout.
I'm always thinking about the tentacles coming out the other end, but sure, whatever, coming out its snout.
Look a little bit like the doodad from Spirited Away.
Yeah, that's true.
Not Spirited Away. Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke.
That was a
Mononoke
infected
Hime.
boar covered in tentacles, wasn't it?
It was a corruption that was taking over the world in that movie. So there's a series of creatures that are getting made right now. Now I'm certain this is done by Omri. The idea is that we're creating a series of characters called Manipulators because early in the game, Alice is in a realm called Denial, which is itself it's all an illusion. And so I had kind of come up with this idea that, well, there needs to be something that generates the illusion. And so the artists have been working on a series of concepts that would be these characters called Manipulators, the ones that create the false reality. So one of those would be like a fungi that messes up your brain. I wasn't really sure what Omri was doing but it was sort of like these elements that transform and create an alternate reality. This was a manipulator teacup that Alex did. So it's sort of like the big tea kettle teapots.
It is quite iPotty.
It is. So then there's a hand, a tea-powered hand. The idea here is that they construct the illusion around Alice.
You were not a fan of this image, were you?
I wasn't, because it does a bunch of things to me that I think violate the idea that these are bad guys. I mean, he just looks goofy. He's got like this honk nose going on. I can't take seriously a creature that's got this big honk nose. And I'm not a big fan of these top hats on these creatures either, because again, I feel like it undermines the seriousness of the character. It kind of makes them look a bit goofy. Now, this thing looks like that Boston Dynamics, the robot dog thing.
It looks a little bit like Spot, doesn't it?
It does. But I mean, look, if you saw this thing coming at you in a game...
Depends how it moved.
He's like 1 star man. It's like, I don't like this game, 1 star.
Does he have a mustache?
What's going on there? Nose.
I think it's a mustache.
He looks like he's on drugs.
Oh no, maybe it's his mouth, lips.
I'm pretty sure that's 3PPO.
It could be 3PPO.
That's 3PPO. Maybe this is 3PPO. I don't know. You'd have to look underneath the guy to know if he really was 3PPO. Anyway, I can't take these guys seriously. I said no, those are not what we're going for. Now, Omri's great. He came back and he did up a gnat and he did a spider, which I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, he started assigning kind of roles to them, which I also think is really fantastic. The idea here being that the spider kind of weaves a web of illusion, and so he's able to kind of manipulate and weld walls. And then the gnat could have red steam that can make Alice hallucinate. Now, this comment right here that Omri wrote, the spiders are based in fire and acid, and the small spiders climbing on her should make the player lose control of the character. People went bonkers on this.
I saw some comments of people not thinking that would be very fun.
No, and so I found it a little funny. Look, I don't want the player to lose control either. Just remember that all these comments, especially when they're written in the notes of the art that's being done. I mean, this is all very work in progress. It's just sort of brainstorming. But I'll put my foot down right now and say, no, we're not going to take control away from the player. If you've watched me play games and you see me comment on like what I like and don't like in games, you will know that I freaking hate having control taken away from me. It's exactly what I was commenting about today. In fact, when we were playing Madness Returns, the camera control was being taken away from me. I freaking hate that. So, no.
Well, Truth Decay here mentioned something similar to what I was thinking. That it was fine in AMA when Alice catches on fire and then runs around a little bit. So it could be, you know, if she's got one spider on her, it's fine. 2, 3, it's fine. But if there's too many spiders, then she does all this until you like rattle the controls around and get rid of them.
Yeah.
So you do lose a bit of control if you let it build up too far.
I can understand that, yeah. I like Celtic Dragon Liddell says, is Alice taking a picture? So if you've not been with us before, a lot of times when Omri does these little sketches of like what's going on with these characters in the scenes, he'll sketch Alice in a corner somewhere taking selfies with the monsters or taking pictures of them. So yes, she not only does she do that, but she dabs.
She dabs occasionally.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So don't dab because that makes the VPN gods very angry. I think, so here was another one that he did. This is the Squid Captain, and apparently he's sort of the boss of the Manipulators. And now when I saw this, I thought, what do you think when you see this?
Well, now I know what you're going to say because you already said it.
Oh.
Okay. But yes, I also think that.
I think the Matrix, because they had the squid type characters in
Squiddies.
there. Squiddies.
You know, when I first saw The Matrix, and I don't know why I made this mistake, I thought the agents in The Matrix were representations of Squiddies in the real world.
Why not?
Yeah,
they could be.
But they're not, and I don't know why I thought that. I thought that there was an Agent Smith Squiddy in the real world trying to hunt them down.
Interesting. That's not a bad idea, though. You know, to have a mirrored physical representation of the AI.
That's what I thought.
That's. I mean, it could have been, right? There could have been like a squid boss that was the physical manifestation of Agent Smith in the VR, you know, the virtual world.
That's what I thought.
Well, anyway, I like this a lot. I think he's pretty cool. I feel like the inclusion of a lot of these kind of mechanical implementations and some of the other stuff kind of it further maybe sells that connection to the ones in the Matrix. Anyway, we'll do a little bit of messing around with this.
Yeah, it's right now. I don't know. Is it too futury looking? Too clean? Too shiny? I don't know.
Well, somebody says they don't like the color scheme, but one of the things is that the color scheme is actually the Mad Hatter's checkerboard with alchemy bits. So, I mean, there is a foundation for why the color scheme looks like that, if that's what you're talking about. I mean, I think he's pretty cool, though. I like him. I just think he probably needs a bit of work. Now, this Hypnotoad, he's fantastic. I like Hypnotoad, Hallucinogen Toad, and I like these fire ants that swarm onto Alice. So I think that Omri's done a really good job outlining a bunch of the so-called manipulators that we would have in the game that help to alter Alice's reality in denial and maybe elsewhere in the game. So pretty cool.
Right.
Last but not least, now pretty sure these are Jen's.
They're Jen's.
She did a teabag.
Jen's seen a trailer for Bug Snacks. I'm sure she has.
I don't even know what that is.
The PS5 game. Like insects as foods.
Well, I wrote over on the Patreon post where I shared these. I said, it's a good thing that we won't have 13-year-olds in control of the teabag flyers online, because you know what they would do every time Alice died. And then I wrote in parentheses, note to self, find a way to allow 13-year-olds to control the teabag flyers every time Alice dies.
Well, Kitten Poker here, and I also might be in one of these comments. Did they have teabags back then?
That was the first thing that came to mind for me. I was like, I don't think they had tea bags back in the day.
And if they didn't, what did they do when they defeated somebody in a shooter? If
they
they couldn't teabag them,
They must have teapotted them.
they stood over the corpse and
I don't know. Anyway, it is time to give away another prize. But before we do that, we are going to do a quick shout out to our favoritist sponsors over at Freaky Fandoms. These are our good friends Andrew
that
and
scary picture right there.
Deborah. Now,
Of the zombie.
I'm going to hit refresh on this because I'm just curious if maybe they've updated the page. No, they haven't. But Freaky Fandoms are two of our friends, also our sponsors, who are running a podcast where they cover all kinds of topics related to horror and culture, films, games, you name it. Now, these days, they're going to be doing two watch parties. One of them is going to be Day of the Dead, and they're going to have the star of Day of the Dead, which is Lori
Cadile? Cadile?
I'm sorry, Lori, I can't say your last name. But Lori was in the original Day of the Dead. You may recognize her there.
Yeah.
And I do.
I used to be super scared of that movie when I was little.
It's a scary movie.
It is.
But it's pretty cool that Andrew and Deborah have actually got in touch with Lori, and they are going to have her join a watch party live. I don't know if it's live. I mean, obviously, they're going to watch it live. I don't know if...
They're alive.
You know what I mean. So, yeah, they're going to... I guess it is going to be on the Discord. So... you can join Andrew and Deborah doing a watch party of Day of the Dead with Lori, and then you will be on the In Search of Darkness Discord. Right? So that's going to be fun. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, Freaky Fandoms would be the place to go. Now, in an email that Andrew sent to me, he said they're going to do another like a watch party.
Yeah.
But they're going to do it with Brad Dourif. Now, when I read the name Brad Dourif, I didn't exactly know who he was, but the moment that we pulled up the pictures of him online, I was like, oh, I love that guy.
It's him.
Because he's been in a lot of really great stuff, and a lot of times he's kind of like got the crazy eye guy thing. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and so I really like him as an actor. He's phenomenal. They've also got him joining one of their upcoming watch parties, so that's really cool.
Because they're watching Dune.
They're going to watch Dune. Exactly. Anyway, all of this is a very long way of saying that if you enjoy watching horror and sci-fi and darkness and talking about the culture and the actors and the directors and the writing and all the things that surround all of that, then go check out Freaky Fandoms podcast. They are our largest and longest running sponsor. Yeah. And when you support them, you are also supporting us. They have a SoundCloud, a Spotify, a Facebook, a Twitter, an Instagram, a YouTube, and a Twitch.
What?
That's even more things than we have. Wow.
Damn it.
All right. Let us go and give away a prize. What's the question?
Honestly, we probably should have done question before that.
Why?
They could have been spamming while you were riffing.
No. I think it's time. Oh, yeah, somebody says that that's Doc Cochran from Deadwood. I loved Deadwood, by the way. That's a really good question.
Never saw it.
Oh, no. So what is your favorite curse word from Deadwood? So I used to go hang out with...
Didn't they say the C word a lot?
No.
Didn't they? I thought that was a big thing about Deadwood.
There is a C word they use, but it's not the one you think that it is.
Oh.
It is...
Crouton.
No, it's not Crouton. It's Crouton Suckers.
Ian McShane. I like Ian McShane.
He's great. But who I used to go and hang out with was the magician whose name is suddenly escaping me, which is why I tried to pull this up. The card guy. Anyway, he was telling me, somebody in the chat will tell me. So he was telling me that these things that they would say, the curse words, a lot of them were invented for the first time in the Old West. That prior to that, people didn't have words to yell at each other like across the street, like crouton sucker. So that a lot of American cursing came out of the Old West, and that crouton sucker was invented in that time, and then it has carried on. Yeah. So sexy your next day again, says Ricky J. So yeah, I used to go to Ricky J's house and hang out with him while we were working on a story for something else, and he was always telling me all these stories about Deadwood, because at that time Deadwood was a thing that was actually getting made. So in the off seasons, I'd go and visit him. Ricky was a really cool guy. I think he passed away about a year ago. But he was a really cool guy, and he was always telling me about how they were trying to be historically accurate about their curse words.
Okay.
So there you go. Has anybody come up?
Lucky Dragon says this is a worse question than Martin has ever asked. Which is, it's fair. I mean, I always ask such amazing questions. So
Questions are terrible. All right.
Are we rolling it?
We are going to roll it. Get bent, Lucky Dragon. Silent Dream, 1989. You have won the rolling. Nightbot has decided to shine upon you. And so you'll need to send a message to support@mysterious.design. Include your name, your phone number, your address. Do all that in a human-readable, non-crouton-sucking version of text formatting. And do that within 24 hours, and we will send you a Omega necklace anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get people ordering stuff who live on like Vanuatu, which is an island in the middle of the South Pacific, and it'll cost us $30 to send something for them ordering like a $20 thing.
It happens.
Yeah.
What
you gonna do? Anyway, congratulations, Silent Dream 1989. I hope that we made your silent dream of owning an Omega necklace come true. So there you go.
Yeah.
Let's just go through art review while you read questions or comments. Did you have any?
Loads. Probably can't even get through them all.
Well, try to get to the meaty, important ones.
Well, let's stick with the ones at the beginning anyway. These are all the ones that were from like the Alice body image post over on Patreon. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that coming up.
Greg Octo Chicken says, I do love how every stream Martin seems shocked that he has to supply questions like it's something he didn't know was coming.
I forget. I do forget it's coming. Anyway, VR said her torso looked pretty thin, which it did. Christine Phillips was also not a fan of the upper torso. Again, this was the original too skinny post that these comments are coming from.
That's right. This was, if you go and you look at the Patreon, the original image that we provided that Joey did was this one, and she does look very skinny.
Yeah,
very, very.
It says it just looks like anorexia.
It does look like anorexia.
It does.
Yeah.
Usagigi. The torso looks too thin, but it fits the art style well. And with the dress, it does not look so thin anymore. True dat.
Yeah, I think it was Jen that posted some information in here to kind of provide a more normal kind of shape of what a girl of that age might look like. I don't know where she put it. This is one of the problems. We generate so much stuff that sometimes it's hard to find the thing. Where did it go? Maybe Jennifer can tell me. I know she's in the chat there. But there was quite a lot of back and forth with our girls between Jennifer and Joey. Just trying to figure out, what this was going to look like and how and why. It was good. It was a good debate. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Jennifer put up a picture of Lola Flannery to kind of give an example of what your typical sort of 13-year-old girl looks like. Now, so this is a bit of a problem. Like, as a dude, I don't want to go on Google and Google show me 13-year-old girl body, because that's just not cool. I don't want to be flagged as being that guy.
Is she famous or something? Why was she dancing with a gun in that other image? Is that what girls do these days?
No. Lola Flannery. I'd never heard of or seen her before, but it's funny. She does actually look quite a bit like Alice, and she's got the exact same body type. So I think the movie is called Orphan.
Yep. The Jinx says it right there. But then change their mind.
Oh. But yeah, it's good to see sort of a real world exemplar of what it is we're basing our character off of, so that we don't get people coming and attacking us for being totally unrealistic, right? So,
yeah. Alexis Ortiz asks, so are all the costumes going to make it into the game? Each costume would be its own world to explore and engulf oneself into the world of Wonderland.
Well, wait, is that a question, or I'm a bit confused by
the first part was a question. I don't think all of them are going to make it in. There's about 1 million.
Well, there's going to be a lot of them are going to make it in. And I believe that what's here are mostly the ones that are going to make it in. It's not 1 million. It is a few. There is a dress for each domain. And also there's a couple of dresses for different statuses or modes that she would be in. So, for example, this is the alchemy dress. You could expect to see this when she goes to Hatter's domain, front and back, close up. This would be in an area we call slumber. This is basically the state she's in before the fire. This one, I believe, was one variation on like a Mercury dress, but I don't think this one is going to make it in, because I think we got a better one. That's a chaos dress. It's supposed to, and there's another version of that as well that was sort of like half white, half purple. There you go. This will definitely make it in, because this is her in the denial realm, being forced into a costume. So front and back. And this was the denial dress. Now this has a front which looks like everything is normal, but then when you flip it around, it's all
dun, dun, dun.
burnt up and on fire. And then what's scribbled in the text here is "It's your fault" over and over again. So yeah.
All right.
So yeah, these are going to make it in.
So yes, Alexis, a lot will make it in.
Yes.
Malika Najad, I believe with her whole weight and structure, she should have a little bit more noticeable weight in her waist. I know the bow makes her have a cinched waist, but a little extra noticeable weight would make it more realistic. Well, she did have a little extra added in the updated picture.
She did. But, this is an interesting one. I mean, look at her complete lack of waist in this. Now, I think one of the reasons that you would do that is because that underneath this, she's got like a completely skeletal zombie form. Right?
This is her zombie form.
But I think it's really interesting that in some of these dresses, we do see her in sort of full-on Skeletor mode. And that's normal, right? I mean, you wouldn't look at the White Walkers in Game of Thrones and be like, hey, that's incorrect, representation of body type. Stop fat shaming me, you zombies. I don't know.
Could happen in this day and age.
Maybe. I don't know.
Felipe Bedoya. I'm no expert, but I feel that the ratio between her waist and hips is too large.
That's correct. Yeah, and I see someone else is making that same comment. Neo Alex says about her body, I feel her hips are too wide for a kid.
Right there.
And her, yeah. So we're on the same page. Again, when that first piece of art ever got put up online, I had the exact same immediate reaction that the waist hip ratio was totally off, and we got all the comments and feedback, and then Joey went and did a revision. And you look at some of the dresses, like the one here. Okay, she's fantastic, but actually her waist hip ratio here is not all out of whack. So I mean, in general, we don't want to try to represent her as totally unreal, even when she's in a she's floating off the ground.
I like this one. I like her Super Saiyan form.
She's cool. This is Inferno Alice.
Lauren Fryman says, I like the Denial dress or the Ash dress, as we have seen her in her blue dress already. Denial gives it a younger look, as well reminds us of some other Alice movies, like the one with Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder? The guy with the curly hair?
Yeah, Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka.
Was he in an Alice movie? Gives a fresh yet familiar look to it. Okay.
Well, if anybody needs like a beefy axe-wielding like muscle bound Alice, we got you covered. There she is. She's not messing around.
No.
Could she beat up on the thick girl from Last of Us 2?
Well, maybe she's got some spiky armor and a knife. That might help.
All right.
But Abby's quite tough.
All right. Well, we'll make a muscly Alice just to deal with that. Or how about one that's covered in mercury, so if you touch her, you just get cancer and die.
Oh, he was in the Whoopi Goldberg one.
Yeah. I don't watch those.
Gregory Parabek. While at first glance the body model does look alarmingly skinny, once the dresses are on her, she does appear to have a roughly equivalent proportions to the prior games.
Somebody says muscle dress. I think it would be great to do a muscle dress.
Maybe.
It'd be awesome. Do that.
Red Breloom. I actually found the extremes of her form pretty fitting. If her 22-year-old self is viewing her 13-year-old self, then it's being put through multiple filters. From what I remember, Alice in AMR seemed pretty thin and malnourished. So, in AMR, if she was in a stronger, healthier state, then she can only imagine the view of her younger self as being an empty frame of a girl.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, I mean, she is locked up in an asylum. She's probably starving, both because the food there is crap and she's competing for it, but also she's super depressed. I mean, when you're really depressed, you don't eat, you lose weight, you know? So, I mean, I don't think it's terribly unrealistic to have her be a bit skinny because of that.
I think so. Andriel, I know you're going for an idealized Alice look, but please use more realistic proportions for a girl her age. Again, the shaved down rib cage. That's gone, Andriel.
Yeah,
we're good.
Gone.
Baphomet Geiger, head too big, waist and bust too skinny, looks like anorexia. Legs and arms too long. Yeah. Didn't like any of that.
See you next Tuesday again says, I was depressed and I actually gained 40 kilograms as I ate my emotions. I could understand that, and I understand that that does happen for some people, but keep in mind that in the Victorian mental asylum dungeon where Alice has been thrown, she's not going to have access to big tubs of Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's. So I too like to eat when I'm depressed. So I mean, I should be clear that it's not just a depression thing, but it's also an environment thing. Like, she's just not in a healthy place. So I don't imagine that she's going to be in a state where she's going to be putting on weight. I don't know.
True. Got Tasha Williamson. Since we're considering the Victorian ideal, I think the model and its proportions are pretty darn good. It honestly looks like how a child might post-trauma or tragedy. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Tasha. Anna Lepper feels the torso was too thin, but agrees that once it's clothed, it doesn't seem too bad. I could see it being explained away as a mental projection of a frail and young child Alice.
There you go.
As we have said. Drusilla Schultz. A lot to unpack here. I understand people's comments about the Victorian ideal of beauty, seeing yourself as more fragile when you look back. But I have the opposite view. Thought of the 13-year-old self as more sturdy and hardy. I guess. Well, there's no
right or wrong answer there.
Right or wrong, but it is a thing. Yeah. Jean Richard mentions, some people said she was bow-legged, but is defending not being bow-legged at all. It's just the way that she's drawn.
Yeah, I had a couple of people, I saw the comment about the bow-leggedness. It really depends on the pose she's in.
Yeah.
And
just standing with her feet apart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's not meant to be bow-legged. We're not trying to represent her as that. It just depends sometimes on the way the artists draw her. But if you go through most of these images, you'll find that there's a little bit of curvature, but a lot of times it's also just the shape that's imposed on the shape of her legs by the boots that she's wearing.
Yeah. Truth Decay. Inferno mode as the first model would be epic. Although I would imagine it would need some fancy lighting and particle stuff to really make it pop. So maybe beyond the scope of what you're trying to do now.
This is Inferno mode. I saw someone previously put in the comments which one of these dresses is my favorite. I actually think it's Inferno mode. And because it would have all the particles and the butterflies flying around. And also just because, dude, I mean, who doesn't want to float around setting fire to stuff everywhere you go, you know?
Pretty sweet.
Yep.
Oh, and I think we're down to last but not least on this topic, Pekka. It's weird how much commotion this post has created compared to the picture of the head with the eyes are about 500%.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, I mean, a lot of times we show off other bits of art and, you know, she's got a very weird head. There's just no getting around it. Sorry, Alice. She looks a bit like an alien. You know, she's got big eyes. She's got a big old eggy head. And look, you know, this again, I mean, she's stylized. She's almost in the realm of a sort of anime or cartoon character in some respects. If you saw a person like this in real life with eyes this big, you'd think that they had some sort of genetic problem. But in fact, she's quite similar to Alita in that sense, because Alita, Battle Angel, also has very big eyes like that. And I typed Battle Angle. I wonder what would come up. But I actually think that Alice's eyes are maybe even bigger, or they're kind of similar to Alita. Depends on which image you look at. I mean, some of them where they're really quite big, and some of them where it's not as heavily emphasized. But I remember watching this movie, and I felt like they did a really good job of having the eyes just be like 5% too big, where it almost kind of you weren't sure if it was wrong or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Great movie.
It was a good movie. I was really impressed by a lot about that movie. It was a lot of fun to watch. As far as, you know, representation of strong female characters go, with great independent sort of character development and sacrifice. I mean, she was just absolutely, the movie, the story, everything about it was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So it just goes on to say, Alice in the Wonderland is just a distorted image of something that isn't real in the first place and should not be treated as such. And here we go from Lucky Dragon. Way too skinny. She should be skinny, but that is beyond anorexic.
Yep.
Bad at best, problematic at worst.
Yeah, so I think Lucky Dragon may be in the chat here. I'm not sure.
Right there.
And I apologize if I misginger you, Lucky Dragon, but I assumed that Lucky Dragon was a female. Not that it's necessarily relevant to the conversation, but I will admit that the back and forth that I had with Lucky Dragon did trigger me to some degree. And the reason was because at some point there was a mention of sort of sexualizing, and that word problematic, like whenever somebody throws problematic at me, especially when in previous posts, and I know perhaps Lucky Dragon or other people hadn't seen that, I've gone out of my way to try to explain where I come from in terms of design and characterization of Alice as a person in these games, and that it is never ever my intention that she be sexualized or fetishized or anything like that. And so I think in the back and forth that I had with Lucky Dragon, I felt a little frustrated because I felt that the work that was being done was being somewhat mischaracterized, and or that, you know, there was a notion that we weren't trying to be careful about what was being done here. And if anything ever, I want to be very careful. And it's one of the reasons why I actually waited until we got a lot of comments back and we got a revision on this before I ever posted it online, because I didn't want this to go out in this format and not have an answer, you know, a response based on the feedback we'd got. And so I wanted to have something that looked more natural and more like what we might have in the final game. And that's what this was. But, you know, no hard feelings. Like I was happy for the back and forth.
But you're okay now.
I'm okay now. I think Lucky Dragon is okay now.
Yay.
Lucky Dragon says, I never thought that. No. So,
Okay.
Anyway, that's one of the problems with the internet is sometimes we get into these discussions and it's especially in text when writing, it's difficult to understand a person's tone and intention. It's one of the reasons I like doing these live streams because I want people to see us and to see that, we have certain emotions and intentions and a realness about us that, yeah, we joke and we make fun. But at the same time, when it comes to things that are serious like this, we can be serious, and I do take it seriously, and I want people to see that. So,
all right.
There you go.
You look at the time.
Yep, it's almost...
where did that last half an hour go? It literally feels like we just did the last prize thing.
Well, it's time to do another one. You're having fun. I'm just going to scroll through the art really quick, and then that's going to be my question is, what was your favorite piece of art from today's live stream? What did you see that you liked the best? Was it an electric lobster? Was it a...
You didn't like that either, did you?
I don't like this.
You don't like tank track enemies?
I don't like wheels on enemies.
Right.
I think they're wheelie bad. Ha ha. And I think that these top hats I've had enough of. So wheelie top hat bad.
Right, keep going then. Let's see what we've got. See if I can find something. Maybe 1 star man. I don't know.
1 star man. You mean, I forgot to even mention this.
3 PPO.
I forgot to mention the mock turtle as
man.
a boss character. Yeah.
Okay, do it now then.
So it's okay, but he's flying around. He's the one that you're gonna run into in the moon, which is gonna be a bit of a messing with your brain because he was also your cellmate in Denial. And when you get to the bridge and you think you're gonna take over the moon, he's there again. And my idea was he's like that bad friend who, when you tell the friend, like, I think I'm going to give up drinking, smoking, and drugs, and then the friend says, no, don't do that, because then who will I have to do drinking, smoking, and drugs with? He basically is that character, because when Alice says to him that she's going to try for like the 1,000,000th time to escape from Denial, he basically like negs her and says, I don't want you to leave, and it's no point, and stop trying. But when she finally does manage to escape, lo and behold, who's in charge of the moon, the thing that's designed to keep her stuck in Denial, but the mock turtle. Now, guess what? And spoiler alert, when you defeat the mock turtle, what you will find behind the edifice, behind the facade, are manipulators. So the mock turtle in Denial wasn't real. The mock turtle flying the moon is not real. It's all manipulation. So that's something to keep in mind. But that's why this scene got done up of the mock turtle flying the moon and having like this boss scene there inside of the moon. So,
right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I forgot to mention this.
Okay.
Do you know why this is happening? Because we're getting further into the conversations about making a new game, and I can't say anything more than that.
But NDAs.
But I can say that we've needed to build an updated logo and studio impression stuff for our decks. So Alex did up this logo, and many of you know that like our online shop is called Mysterious, and that's the company that I own in the US. It's called Mysterious Incorporated or whatever. So we're having to kind of do the branding for the extension to Mysterious that would be the game studio, but I can't tell you why. So
that is very Alex, isn't it?
It's very Alex. Anyway, so back to, what is your favorite character from today's live stream?
This one lots of people were saying pig.
Right.
It seems to really have captured people's imaginations.
This is my favorite character from today's live stream. This is Spineless Guts for Hips.
Okay.
I love Spineless Guts for Hips.
Well, I'll go with like 3PPO then.
You like 3PPO,
or 1 star man,
would
whichever we're calling him.
Where is he? Where's 1 star man? He's in here somewhere. No, there he is. All right, you love 1 star man.
Yeah, he's just stood there, just so matter of factly.
Well, you would too.
And it does look like he's got a mustache.
You would stand there like that too if you had 3 PPOs.
Oh,
Okay.
You're going to vaguely mention this?
No, I'm going to save that.
Okay.
We'll talk about that another time. Okay, I think we're good. We've had a bunch of people saying, take my money. That wasn't a character from today. It's going to replace Ashen Rabbit, yes. The Pig, yes. Mechanical Firefly. Tentacle cards. Yeah, the tentacles are really good. The Pig. Omrath.
Soul Dress.
Squish. The Ferret. Mock Turtle. New logo.
There's lots of good stuff today.
All right. Well, let's do it. We're going to roll it. 3, 2, 1. Octo Chicken Greg.
Ooh.
Congratulations. Greg
win something recently.
you deserve to win. No, he hasn't won for a long time.
Yeah, just 2 streams ago.
Oh, he's already won a necklace. Congratulations.
Roll again.
Oh, okay. Ready? Greg's giving it away.
Very nice of you, Greg.
Desert Phoenix, that's Ray. I think he's won before also.
Well, yeah, but recently... we have to go back like 5 streams before we got Desert Phoenix. God, come on. Nightbot.
Come on, Nightbot.
I mean, Jesus. Chuffing Christ.
Well, let's just see if Ray, are you going to keep it? Did he win a Omega necklace last time too?
Tragedy print.
All right. Well, Ray, let us know. Are we rolling again? I don't even think Ray's in the room.
Oh, well, write him down.
All right.
You
well,
can win.
let's just say that Ray has won. So congratulations, Desert Phoenix, aka Ray. He's talking about carrying tattoo products called Mysterious Ink. All right. That's not answering the question of whether or not you want the prize that you just won. I'll take it. Okay. Done. That's it for today's stream. We had a lot of fun. If you want to support the work that we're doing here, there are a number of ways that you can do that. There's a list of things, actually. If you go over to AmericanMcGee.com, I need to get a Flavicon or whatever that thing is called. Favicon? Flavorcon?
What are we looking at?
I'm missing my Favicon or whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
that doodad.
So, AmericanMcGee.com, and there is a list there of things you can do to support us. Martin, why don't you do this?
Okay, subscribe to the mailing list, please. Only real emails matter, so don't be using fake ones from dead relatives. That's not cool. Yeah, just sign up. It helps us out. It's great. Thing number 2, which you might already be doing, is follow our social stuff. As you can see there, got Facebook pages, Instagrams, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. So like, follow, subscribe, share, slap like, all the stuff. And yes, as we mentioned earlier, we do have a Patreon, which is how we pay all of our amazing artists to do all of their amazing stuff. It really is you guys that's making all this possible, and Patreon is a huge part of that. So yeah, if you want to head over there, support us. We've got loads of cool tiers. We give lots of stuff away over there on Patreon. It's a great place to be, so maybe consider that. And finally, we have the Mysterious Store, which is just full of skulls, apparently.
No, there's more than skulls in there.
Skulls, wallets, purses, t-shirts, prints,
it's a
books, shop. All sorts of cool things.
Look, we have this tentacles. I almost read that as testicles.
Testicles and
Tentacles
tapestries.
and Tapestries is like this new set my wife put together.
This is this month's unique set.
Exactly. So if you want like a giant wall print of the Red Cheshire print by Alex, along with some sort of jewelry stuff that my wife put together, or like my wife's a fashion designer, so there's purses and wallets that she's designed. You could buy the art of Alice Madness Returns in Chinese. You can buy plush dolls. Yes, we have skulls. We do have skulls. We sell a surprising number of skulls. I don't really understand.
We do.
I read, so I tweeted about Shopify, which is how we power this shop. I tweeted about that this week to Toby, I can't remember his last name, who is the CEO, the billionaire owner of Shopify. Because Shopify is worth like multiple billions of dollars. And I just said thank you to Shopify because it's done a lot for us in terms of just financial security and changing our way of life. The shop does really well. And then Elon effing Musk liked the tweet that where like Toby retweeted. We got a like from Elon Musk. So
Now you've got an in with Elon.
amazing.
So we'll get him to fund Alice.
So look, all I'm trying to say here is if Elon Musk likes our shop, then you should go buy skulls there. I think it's where I'm just gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say I think that our shop is where Elon Musk buys all of his skulls. I should write that.
Fact.
I should write that on the page. The official skull of Elon Musk. All right, guys, that's it for today.
It's not quite it.
What?
Because it's a new month, which means that over on Patreon soon we're going to be doing the Lucky 5.
Oh, right.
And to be legal and above board, we have to open this promotion in other places. So when this video goes up on YouTube, we need you to write in the comments
On YouTube.
And then you can also be in the draw, which we do on Patreon. What prize? Haven't figured out the prize yet, but we'll be giving away 5 things on Patreon. And if you want to be in with a chance of getting one of those things, in the comments below when this is up on YouTube, say
Like a nice form of that sucker thing. Like, what did we say?
oh, the like the negative Nelly
Yes.
thing. Yeah, just come up with like something nice.
No, you can't tell them to come up with something. It has to be a specific phrase. Otherwise,
like
it
the
doesn't
one,
work.
oh, what was it? Drama Llama.
Drama Llama.
Hashtag Drama Llama.
So
even though hashtag doesn't work on YouTube.
Then why do you even do that?
All the kids say
Just
hashtag, don't they?
confusing. You're just confusing.
They're all
Martin.
throwing gang signs and
All right.
saying hashtag.
So, if you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you haven't been commenting like it's live the whole time. But if you want to be entered into the drawing to win, you will need to write hashtag Drama Llama in the comments below.
Then you'll be in with a chance of winning whatever prize we decide it's going to be.
And smash like. Why not?
And get bent.
And get bent.
And
That's
jib it up.
Jib it
And
up.
get out the kitchen.
Yeah, get out the kitchen.
Didn't say that this stream yet.
Forget all of our catchphrases. There's so many. All right, everybody. That was fun. We will see you again next week, unless we're canceled, in which case we won't. But we love you all very much. Hope you all have a great week. Don't catch any viruses or get your statues knocked down on your head.
Please don't.
Be safe out there. And yeah, get bent. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.